Well now, I reckon if you've got a moment and an open ear, I'll tell you a story not many folks believe, though I swear on my worn-out boots it's the honest truth. It's a tale that starts on a farm, my farm, nestled right where the sky stretches its back over miles of wheat and wildflowers, and the wind carries secrets through the fence posts. It begins with two unlikely friends, one pig, one duck, and ends with me, standing in the dawn light with a heart half full of worry, and half full of wonder. Their names were Piggy and Quack. Ordinary names, I know, but there was nothing ordinary about him. Piggy was the cleverest pig I ever raised, had a snout for sniffing trouble and a glint in his eyes like he was always one step ahead of me. Born the runt of the litter, he should have been a goner by winter, but he hung on, stubborn as a rusted gate hinge, and grew into a stout, pink fellow with a mind for mischief and a hunger for more than slop. Quack, well, she was a duck with a voice like thunder in a tin roof and a waddle like she'd invented the art. She was small, with feathers like burnt gold in autumn sunlight, and eyes that didn't miss a thing. Quack arrived in the spring storm of '21, blown in like a leaf from another world. I found her half drowned in the drainage ditch by the cornrows, and for some reason I still don't rightly understand, Piggy nudged at my heels until I scooped her up. I didn't think much of it at first. Animals make strange company in barns, sometimes. I've seen cats nap beside cows and hens sit with goats. But this was something else. From the first moment Piggy and Quack locked eyes, something passed between them. A spark. Maybe it was because they both knew what it was like to be the smallest in the field. Or maybe they just saw in each other what the rest of us missed. Now, I ain't one to meddle in barnyard friendships, but I did keep an eye on them, just out of curiosity. Piggy would drag his trough closer to the pond just to be near Quack. Quack would fluff her feathers and swim in figure eights, like she was putting on a show just for him. They had a way of understanding each other. Piggy would grunt once, soft-like, and Quack would answer with a low quark, and the two of them would disappear behind the haystacks or into the cornfield paths. At first, it was innocent, just two critters finding comfort in each other's company. But after a while, things started happening. Strange things. Tools gone missing from the shed. The latch on the co-op unhooked in the night. My truck keys moved from where I'd left them. I told myself it was just me, getting forgetful. Maybe a raccoon with too much time on its hands. But the deeper into summer we got, the more convinced I became that something was up, and Piggy and Quack were at the center of it. I began keeping a notebook. Just small scribbles. July 14th, Piggy seen outside the fence after dark. July 18th, Quack gone for 2 hours during feeding. I started staying up late, pretending to read by the kitchen window while I kept an eye on the barn. Most nights, nothing happened. But once, just once, I saw him. Piggy with a small sack in his mouth, dragging it toward the oak tree by the edge of the property. Quack waddling beside him, looking left and right like a soldier on patrol. They stopped under the moonlight, and I swear, I saw Piggy untie the sack's drawstring with his teeth. It was the strangest thing I'd ever seen. I tried telling my neighbor Joe about it. Joe runs the tractor service 2 miles down the road. He just chuckled and said I needed a vacation, maybe a fishing trip. But I knew what I saw. And that night, I began sleeping lighter. Then came the night of the big escape. August 3rd. I remember because it was the night after the county fair. My back was sore from hauling pumpkins, and I'd had one too many ciders under the judging tent. The animals were all locked up, feed bags restocked, and the moon was just a sliver in the sky. I went to bed late, my boots still on, dreaming of blue ribbons and deep-fried cornbread. And then, the silence woke me. You ever feel silence so loud it pulls you straight from your dreams? That was it. No night crickets, no owl, no rustle of wind in the corn. Just a stillness that felt like the earth holding its breath. I slipped out of bed and went straight to the window. The barn door, always locked with a heavy bolt, was open. Just a crack. Enough to let the light of the moon spill in. I grabbed my lantern and shotgun, not thinking, just moving. My heart pounded as I crossed the yard. Inside, the barn was empty. Piggy's pen, open. Quack's perch, abandoned. No sign of struggle. No broken locks. Just a note. A note, I tell you. Folded neatly and pinned to the hay bale with an old corn fork. In handwriting I'll never understand but somehow did. It said, "Don't worry, farmer. We'll come back someday. But there's a world out there, and we need to see it." Piggy and Quack. My knees buckled. I sat down hard in the hay and stared at the words until they swam. Two animals, a pig and a duck, run off together, left me a note like they were heading off to college. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. I searched the property till dawn, calling their names like a fool, but they were gone. No tracks, no feathers, just the open road and a pair of empty stalls. And that's how it all began. You want to hear more? Of course you do, because this wasn't just any runaway. This was the beginning of an adventure that would stretch farther than I ever imagined, and bring me face to face with things I never believed in, not until Piggy and Quack proved me wrong. But that's for another part. And trust me, friend, it only gets stranger from here. Alright, you're in for it now. Settle in, 'cause part 2's where the trail gets wild. You've heard how Piggy and Quack disappeared on me like smoke in a windstorm, but what you don't know yet is just how far they went, and what they left behind. And let me tell you, they didn't just vanish into the night. No, sir. They set off something I couldn't ignore. Something that pulled me right out of my little farm life and into a whole other kind of story. I didn't sleep much after that night. I'd wake up sweating, half expecting to find a pig pawing through my porch pantry, or a duck tapping Morse code on my window pane. But they never came back. Not right away, anyhow. I'd go down to the barn every morning, pretend like I wasn't expecting them to be waiting for me with those glinty eyes and feathery strut. I'd feed the others, patch up the fence, rake the hay, but the barn felt hollow without them. Days passed, then weeks, and then came the stranger. It was early September, just as the leaves started giving up on green and going full fire. I was out fixing the back gate where the coyotes had been nosing around when a long shadow fell across the grass. I turned, and there he was. Tall fella, city-looking, wearing boots too clean for real work and a coat that didn't fit the weather. Had a briefcase of all things, and a grin like he already knew what you were thinking. "Farmer Gideon?" he said. "That's me, by the way. Name's Gideon. Just figured I'd mention it, seeing as we're getting deep into things." "I might be," I said, not liking the way he smiled. He reached into that fancy coat and pulled out a photo. Grainy, black and white, but there was no mistaking them. Piggy, standing upright like he owned the world, and Quack, wings out like she was mid-command. Both of them on a park bench. A bench, for the love of hay. "I believe these are your animals," he said, smooth as butter. I didn't know what to say. I must have stared at that picture a full minute. "Where'd you get that?" I asked. "Baltimore," he said, "but last week they were spotted in Chicago. Before that, Kansas City. They've been moving." He snapped the briefcase open and pulled out more photos. Piggy peeking over a subway railing. Quack on the deck of a ferry. Another shot of them both outside a bookstore, Piggy with a pair of glasses perched on his snout like some kind of professor. "You're joking," I said, because surely this was a prank. "Not even a little," he replied. "Name's Ashford. I work for a group that specializes in unusual animal intelligence. And your pig and duck are the most interesting case we've ever seen." I didn't trust him, still don't, but the pictures, they were real. No Photoshop, no fancy tricks. Just Piggy and Quack, out there in the wide world, looking like they'd figured out how to live like folks. "They're not just wandering," Ashford continued. "They're going somewhere. There's a pattern to their movements. A path." He leaned in then, voice low. "They're looking for something, or someone, and I think they've got help." I asked him what he meant, and he gave me a look like I wouldn't believe him even if he told me. Then he handed me a card, plain, black letters on white. "If they contact you, tell us. For your safety." And just like that, he left. I didn't sleep that night either. Next morning, there was a feather on my porch. Golden brown. Quacks. No sign of them otherwise, but I knew what it meant. They were checking in, maybe watching me, or maybe warning me, so I did what any half-crazed, sentimental fool of a farmer would do. I packed a bag. Left my cousin Bert to mind the animals, took my old truck, and hit the road. I figured if my pig and my duck were out there turning heads and ducking agents, the least I could do was try to find him. Not to drag him back, but to see what they were chasing. The first stop was Chicago. I found the park bench. Sure enough, carved into the wood with a pig's hoof or a duck's beak or heaven knows what, were the letters, PQ was here. I asked around, showed a photo to a hot dog vendor, and he said, oh yeah, the walking pig and the bossy duck. They took the subway. The subway, I tell you. From there, the trail led west. Kansas City, Denver, Salt Lake. Piggy was spotted mimicking a man at a chessboard in Union Station. Quack apparently interrupted a Mormon choir rehearsal and took a bow before waddling out. They were learning, folks said. Watching, listening, but what really got me was the message in Salt Lake. At a petting zoo, no less. Scribbled on the underside of a goat's water bucket, in muddy smears. He's not who he says he is. Be careful. Q. That's when it clicked. Ashford wasn't after them to study. He was hunting them, and Piggy and Quack knew it. I started working smarter. I followed the stories, the rumors. People talk when animals act out of turn. And everywhere I went, I found signs. A bitten apple left on a library desk. A trail of breadcrumbs leading to a bus stop. A scratched symbol that looked a lot like a spiral pig's tail next to a duck's footprint drawn in chalk. They were outpacing me, but not by much. And little by little, I felt like I was closing in. Then came Reno. A busker on the strip swore he saw a pig pickpocket a tourist's wallet, hand it to a duck, and vanish into the crowd. Said the duck quacked out the tune to Bohemian Rhapsody while they made their escape. And in my motel room that night, I found it. A note. On the pillow. Almost there. Follow the trail of music. P. Music? It didn't make sense. Not until I turned on the radio and heard it. A flute, soft and simple, playing You Are My Sunshine. Piggy's favorite tune. I used to whistle it while mucking his stall. The broadcast was local. Live. I ran. Followed the music to a jazz club at the edge of town. And there, on the rooftop, silhouetted against the neon, I saw them. Piggy, Quack, alive, moving to the music, and someone else with them. A small figure in a coat, hunched low, feeding them popcorn. That's when everything changed. But you'll have to wait for part 3. Because that, my friend, that's when the real story begins. Ah, so you're still with me. Good. Most folks would have wandered off by now, thinking the story was done. But like I told you from the start, this ain't just some tale about a pig and a duck skipping off into the sunset. No, this is something stranger. Wilder. Bigger. You're ready for the third part, then? Alright, but don't say I didn't warn you. What comes next, you might not believe. But remember, I was there. I lived it, and it all started that night on the rooftop in Reno. I don't know what I expected to feel when I finally saw Piggy and Quack again. Relief? Joy? Maybe a little anger for making me chase him across half the country. But mostly what I felt was awe. They weren't mine anymore. That pig and duck I raised on my farm had changed, grown into something bigger, like stars learning they were galaxies. They didn't see me at first. Piggy was standing near the ledge, upright again, his little ears twitching in time with the music. Quack was pacing slowly in a circle, flapping her wings every so often like she was warming up for something. And the third figure, well, they turned and looked right at me. It was a girl, maybe 8 or 9 years old. Pale, with a shock of black curls and eyes so sharp they cut straight through me. "You're Farmer Gideon," she said, like it wasn't even a question. I nodded, dumbstruck. "And you are?" She gave a sly little smile. "I'm Melody. I found them." I took a step closer, wary. "What do you mean you found them?" "I heard them," she said simply. "I hear everything." Then she tapped her ear. "I was born different. Music runs through me. And one day, I heard a song only animals could sing." Piggy was humming it from a sewer grate in Philadelphia. Quack picked it up in New Orleans. They're connected to something. And now I am too. Piggy turned to face me then. His eyes met mine, and I swear on my mother's jam recipe, he nodded. Not just a tilt of the head, an honest, human-like nod. "I've been following them for months," Melody continued. "They're trying to find it. The source. That's what they call it. The place where the song comes from. The one that woke them up." I shook my head, not out of disbelief, but because some deep part of me did believe her. Had to. I'd seen the signs. The smarts in Piggy's eyes. The plans they made. The note they left me. This was more than instinct or luck. "They're not the only ones," she said. "There are others waking up. Crows quoting Shakespeare, elephants painting galaxies, something's happening to the animals. And the source, it's real. I looked down at Piggy. He snorted once and trotted up to me, then pressed his forehead against my leg. I froze. You miss home? I asked him quietly. He looked up, blinked slow, then snorted again and turned away. That was all the answer I needed. Why me? I asked Melody. Why'd they bring me into this? She shrugged. You were kind. You saw them before anyone else did. That matters. Just then, we heard it. A sharp whine, like metal under pressure. Then lights, red ones, flashing in the alley below. Ashford had found us. Time to go, Melody said. The rooftop door burst open. Men in dark uniforms came pouring out, shock sticks and nets in hand. One of them shouted, "Secure the subjects." I stepped in front of Piggy and Quack before I even thought about it. You're not taking them, I said, holding my arms out wide. Ashford appeared behind them, cool and calm. They're not safe out here. You think you're protecting them, Gideon, but you're not. There are others who want them, who'll do worse. They want freedom, I said. Same as you. Same as anyone. You don't understand, he snapped. They're part of something ancient. Something dangerous. You think it's all songs and subway rides? There are rules to this world. Melody stepped forward then, eyes bright like moonfire. You're scared because you can't control it. Ashford hesitated. That was his mistake. Piggy squealed once, sharp and loud. A high tone followed, almost like a whistle, but more powerful. It vibrated the air, made my teeth rattle. And then everything stopped. The lights, the men, even Ashford, frozen, mid-step, like statues caught between seconds. Melody gasped. They did it. They found the note. What note? I asked, heart pounding. The key. The note that unlocks the rest of the song. The source is calling now. Piggy turned to me, and for the first time in all my years on this earth, I swear I heard him. Not just a grunt, not a squeal, but a voice. Not words, but meaning. Thank you. Then Quack flapped her wings once, and Piggy squealed again, softer this time. A shimmering light opened behind them, like a curtain parting in the sky, right there on the rooftop, hovering above the city. It looked like a portal. A place where sound and light blended into something more. Piggy walked toward it. Quack followed. Melody took my hand, squeezing tight. Will they come back? I asked, barely breathing. She didn't answer, just watched as they stepped into the light, side by side. The moment they vanished, everything snapped back. The agents stumbled, blinking in confusion. The light was gone. So were Piggy and Quack. Ashford cursed and turned to me. Where are they? I just looked him dead in the eye. Gone. Farther than you'll ever reach. And that was the end. Or maybe the beginning. I went back to my farm, eventually. Things returned to normal. Sort of. The barn feels different now. Quieter. But I still keep their stalls clean. Just in case. Sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night and swear I hear music on the wind. A little snort. A soft quark. And once, just once, I found a golden feather on my windowsill. I don't know where they went. Or what they found. But I know one thing. Piggy and Quack weren't just escaping. They were leading the way. And maybe, just maybe, we're all meant to follow.